right. We'll go ahead and get started. We'd like to welcome reigning FedEx Cup champion Viktor Hovland to the interview room here at the 2024 Tour Championship. Viktor, you're coming in here at number 17 off of some solid weeks in Memphis and Denver. Can you just give us some comments on the state of your game heading into Eastlake this week?
Yeah, I feel like things are getting better every single week, so that's nice to build on. Obviously, I had a really nice week in Memphis and played okay last week. I just couldn't get anything going with my putter, and I'd rather play bad if I putted poorly instead of hitting it all over Denver. So I've taken some good things into this week. Obviously, a completely different golf course, so kind of have to spend some time getting used to the new golf course, but still just kind of working on the same processes, and hopefully it clicks a little bit better this week.
And speaking of the golf course, you're making your 5th consecutive start here at Eastlake, and the newly restored golf course is top of mind. Can you just get some comments on that and what it's like? I heard you played the front yesterday.
Yeah, I only played the front yesterday, and yeah, just as soon as I walked on the property, I was kind of shocked. It looks nothing like he used to. Seems like he's basically changed every single hole out there. So it was just kind of wild how much you can actually change the holes with not really moving holes around. It's all kind of in the same place, but yet none of the holes look exactly the same. I mean, I could probably try to describe a person that's never been here before what he used to look like, and it's almost like you can't imagine it. So it will be interesting to kind of get used to it, that's for sure.
With that, we'll open up to questions. If we can just raise your hand, we'll get a microphone over to you. We'll start with Doug here on the right.
What was the biggest change out here that got your attention? What hole?
Well, number one was like I started off at 1, so when I saw 1, I'm like, wow, this is completely different. It's way longer, and just I think the green areas. As soon as I saw the green areas, that was like, okay, wow, this is going to be a completely different golf course, because now you have huge undulating greens with big runoffs. And instead of having tight Bermuda around the greens, you have really, really tight zoysia. So it's just going to play completely different. And then, yeah, I felt like the rest of the course was just kind of indicative of what I saw on number 1. I think it looks fine, but I also thought what it used to be was fine as well. I think maybe it was getting a little bit too severe towards the back portion of the old green, but now with the greens being so firm, and if you put the tees all the way in the back, those left hole locations, I'm not sure you can even stop it there. So I think you might have to put the tee forward on that hole. But yeah, thought it was okay. It wasn't my favorite hole.
Go to Rex next.
Viktor, from a strategy standpoint, are the changes more off the tee and having to change your lines, or around the greens? You talked about some of the chipping areas.
Yeah, both. You know, one of the things, I wouldn't say Eastlake ever had a lot of strategy off the tee before. It was always kind of tree-lined fairways, narrow fairways, and you had an occasional bunker here and there, but usually it's just kind of, you either hit driver or 3-wood, and you have to hit it straight. And I really do appreciate that kind of golf, because I think trees really add a lot to the strategy of a golf course. But at least here, when he's taken away so many trees, you really have to emphasize the strategy portion of it, or else it just becomes a bombing fest where everyone hits driver. And I do think Andrew's done a great job with positioning certain bunkers in there, and you know, you really have to think, okay, well, if I want to cover this bunker, I have to worry about the next bunker and what kind of angle I'm getting in there and all that stuff. So I think he's done a pretty good job with that.
We'll go to Chris Vivlamore over here with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Yep. Can I just ask, though, do you like the changes? And then how do you take it as this is the course to decide the FedEx Cup? I mean, does that help it, hurt it?
I think if I would have shown, now speaking in mine, I haven't been to the back 9 yet. I've only seen the front 9. But if the front 9 is kind of indicative to the back, then I would say, like, if I showed up here and I'd never seen the golf course before, then I would say, yeah, it looks pretty good. It's pretty good golf course. It looks pretty hard as well. But just from being here 4 or 5 times before and just remembering what it used to be, I just think it was a way more kind of simplistic golf course before, but it was still, like, it was simple, but it was very, very good. And I'm still a little bit biased towards what it used to be. But I understand, like, the whole look of the golf course. As soon as I stepped foot here and saw the green areas and stuff, I thought, okay, this is a major championship golf course, and that seems like what he's tried to do with the place. In my heart, it's like, you know, East Lake never had that look, and it's such a historic place. I'm like, should we really try to make East Lake look like a major championship golf course? That's kind of the only place I'm at, but I don't think he's done a bad job. It's just the style of it.
We'll go to Adam Schupak next.
Viktor, last week you were the defending champ at a totally different course in a different state. This time you're at the same course, but do you feel like you're defending at a different course?
Yeah, it's almost the same scenario as last week, it feels like, because just every single hole is different, and it's gonna take a slightly different game to play well this week compared to what it used to be last year.
Do you have a sense of what a winning score could be?
I'd have to see the back first, but I think it's definitely going to be harder. It depends also where you put some of those pins at, because I was looking at a couple of potential pin locations, and for example on 2, when you tuck the pin to the right there, just over the bunkers, because the greens are so firm, no one's going to go for the pin. But in the middle of the green, you have a slope that's right to left, so where you want to hit it, you're hitting good shots middle of the green, but then the ball slopes away from the pin. So I don't know, like, I don't know where the certain pin locations are going to be, but you could make this place very difficult.
How would you compare your game this week versus how you felt coming in here last year?
Well, if last year was a 9 out of 10, I'd probably say we're still at a 5 out of 10, 4 or 5 out of 10 right now. It's still, like, I know I can still shoot good numbers, but it just feels like it's a little bit more hard work, and it's tougher for me to kind of string the good rounds together day by day. Like last year, I played well, I knew I played well, and every single day was a good day, whereas now it just feels like a little bit more hard work, but at least I'm on the right track. I mean, it was, it's as bad as I've played in a long time, so we can call it a 1, hopefully.
We have time for a couple more. We're going to go Kathy next.
Viktor, on number one today, what did you hit into the green? Having hit a driver off the tee, was it different from last year? If so, what was the club, and what similarities or differences did you see on the holes that you played?
So yesterday when I played, I didn't really warm up. I just went straight to the first tee, but I hit a really nice drive, and it was slightly into the wind, and I tried to hit a 6-iron going into the green, and I still left it short of the hole. So for me, it was probably the right club would have been a good drive and a good 5-iron into slight breeze yesterday. So whereas last year we were hitting driver wedge on that hole, so that's a pretty big difference, especially into a green that's uphill. It's blind. It's a huge green. You don't necessarily know all the slopes and where to land it. So as for similarities, sorry,
Difference in club.
in club?
Yeah, on one that you used.
Oh,
in
well,
your practice round.
Other than number one,
Yeah.
are there different distances you were hitting your approach shots on other holes on the front side?
I would say they're fairly similar. Like the par 5-6 was a little bit different because the angle, or it's a dogleg right now, so it was a driver 4-iron in there. But I've hit driver 4-iron in there in the past as well, so not too crazy different on the remaining holes.
Final two, Gabby, and then we'll end on Doug.
Victor, we know this year was kind of a roller coaster for you, but how do you evaluate your performance throughout the year? You know, tournament results, do you even look at that, or are you kind of basing everything off of feel purely and how your swing is feeling?
I mean, I wouldn't say I've been very happy with this year, but I do think I've learned a lot. And what's really cool is that I've still made it to this week playing what I felt like is absolute garbage. So I think that's something that's pretty cool to kind of have in my back pocket, is that, okay, we can struggle and we can still come out here and have a chance to win tournaments. So I think that's really cool. That's kind of how I'm processing this. And I might sit down by the end of the year and kind of really look at the whole course of the year, but I feel like I do a pretty good job of that, of analyzing each week as they go, so I know where I'm at. It's not like I have to play 3 months in a row and then go, oh, what did I do the last 3 months? Like I'm always kind of present and analyzing what's going on. So I'm just happy we're moving in the right direction.
And then in the off season, what will you do with your time mostly?
I don't know. We'll see. I'd definitely like to practice a little bit more and kind of really integrate some of these changes or the path that I'm moving on. I really want to make sure that we're solidifying that path and it's headed to a good direction, so that for 2025 I'm ready to go and just get after it.
So we'll wrap up here with Doug.
Doug's looking real quick. Just along those lines, what part of you was pleased or disappointed coming out of Memphis, realizing that you were well outside and you were pretty locked into here? I can't imagine this was written in ink being here this year.
No, it wasn't. And that's, I was obviously what Hideki did, birdie finish, and I would have liked to have finished a little bit better, but I couldn't be very disappointed. I mean, after being 2 over par after 15 holes on Thursday and then having a chance to win the golf tournament with a couple holes left, and that obviously, instead of just trying to make it into Denver, I was already locked up here. So I mean, I was super pumped just to come back and turn a pretty bad year into an okay year, making it here. So yeah, I'm just kind of pumped that the curve is trending upwards, and I just got to ride with that wave and keep it going.
And also, Victor, next year is going to be our 4th year in a row of doing Memphis, rotating BMW, and then Eastlake. Are you okay with that, or would you like to see a little more variety in the postseason?
I think it's pretty cool kind of going back to the same places. I think Teepsy Southwind is a great golf course. I've always been a fan of Eastlake, so kind of having 2 similar or the same stops out of the 3. I think BMW is a cool one to kind of rotate around, and we've been to some amazing places the few years that I've played that event. So I think it works, but if the fans want to see somewhere else, maybe that should be something to look at. But I also think it works. I mean, we go to Augusta every year, and I don't think people complain about that. So I think it works.
Thank you, Victor. Appreciate the time as always.
You got it.